The term biometrics is taken from the Greek words bio, which means life, and metrics, which means to measure. There are two main forms of biometrics, physiological and behavioral. Physiological biometrics refers to physical characteristics or data that is taken from direct measurements of body parts. Some examples include fingerprint, facial recognition, hand geometry, iris scan, and retina scan. On the other hand, behavioral biometrics is the measurement of unique patterns in human behavior. Some examples include speaker or voice recognition, signature or handwriting, and keystroke or patterning. Although both forms are important for security, people are more familiar with the usage of physiological biometrics. While fingerprinting is today's most commonly used biometric, the oldest form of a characteristic that can be used for recognition is the face. The face has been an important characteristic that people have used to identify familiar and unfamiliar individuals since the beginning of civilization. However, as populations and cities increased and travel became more convenient, the simple task of recognizing people's faces became challenging. As the world began to transform into the complex society it is today, it became clear that people could no longer rely solely on their own knowledge and interactions with others for identification. As the world began to become more complex, the importance of the integration of a formal identification system became apparent. There were two main approaches of anthropometry or identification that stem from this need. The first approach originated in France and was called the Bertillon system. The Bertillon system measured various body dimensions. The measurements were written on cards that could be sorted by height, arm length, or any other parameter. In the late 1800s, a breakthrough method of identification was created, the Henry system. This system was developed in India by Azizul Haq for Edward Henry, who was the Inspector General of Police in Bengal. The Henry system was developed to index fingerprints that provided the ability to retrieve records as Bertillon system did, but that was based on a more individualized metric fingerprint patterns and ridges. This system became the basis of many biometric systems to follow, as certain variations are used for identifying fingerprints today. The federal government has been actively introducing biometrics in the form of fingerprinting and photographing for border control since 2004. This introduction of biometrics was induced by the terrorists who carried out the 9/11 attacks. The terrorists were able to bypass all forms of airport screening techniques that were in place at the time. If biometrics were used when the attacks occurred, the terrorists would not have been able to get around the previous system used for immigration, therefore the attacks would have never occurred. In the American military, the use of biometrics is used to fingerprint people, especially men that are eligible to fight in various foreign countries such as Afghanistan and Iraq. In the law enforcement sector, biometric features are taken from criminals or detainees in case they escape from prison so that they can be found. Biometric systems in the form of physiological are becoming increasingly common on college campuses around the United States, including George Mason. One example of the use of biometrics at GMU, as well as other colleges, is the implementation of iris recognition at dining halls. The implementation of physiological biometrics, especially iris recognition, on college campuses is important because it can create convenience for college students in the event that they forget their student ID cards but do not have the time to go back to their dorm or look for the card. When a student's ID card is connected to their irises, the card can then be used anywhere where an iris recognition machine is, not only a dining hall. While the use of physiological biometrics on college campuses increases convenience for the students as well as faculty, it is the use of biometrics on mobile devices, especially Apple's iPhone, that is impacting millions of people every day. The use of physiological biometrics, especially fingerprinting on a mobile phone, is increasing security because only the owner's fingerprint is identifiable. If only a traditional password is used, it is easier for others to get into the phone by simply looking over the shoulder of the owner who is typing in their password. Biometrics has been proven to provide more security than a traditional password or PIN number due to the fact that many anatomical and biological features are unique to only one person. Although the added security that biometrics provides has been proven, there are people who believe that hackers can still master a way to duplicate fingerprints, handprints, and facial structures. The duplication of an anatomical or biological body parts is not the only concern that many people have. Other people believe government and police officials could use the fingerprints to negatively affect people's lives by prying into their privacy instead of using the biometric system to improve the user's life. While biometric verification allows for a greater amount of security than a PIN number or standard passwords, the results of stolen biometric data can be potentially catastrophic. Unlike a credit card or stolen information, there is no easy way to fix a stolen biometric. Due to the fact that a biometric is associated to a single person's body, it becomes hard for someone to deassociate themselves with that particular biometric once it has been stolen. While the exact future of biometrics is uncertain, one thing that is certain is that the popularity of biometrics will continue to rise. It is possible in the near future to see biometric systems make their way into the residential housing market and car industries. In an interview discussing the future of biometrics between Simon Piff and Jeffrey Koch, it is determined that in the future the use of multi-factor authentication will move away from password-based, presumably towards biometric data, but will work for both on-premise as well as cloud-based applications.